What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the channel. I am going to be taking you guys on my journey in OOTP25, something that been wanting to do for so long, and I am finally doing it. I have ripped off the band-aid, and I am just going to do exactly what I wanted to do in OOTP for some time now, and I'm going to bring you guys along that journey. What I have been longing to do is an expansion franchise, and not just any expansion franchise. An expansion franchise that I build from the ground up, and not something that I just hit expansion draft and draft the expansion draft and play the very first year. If you guys are coming across this channel, there's a pretty good chance that you have come across another YouTuber's channel, and he goes by the name of Old School Sports. You might remember that he did a long-term expansion franchise playthrough with the Buffalo Wings. I watched just about every one of those episodes, and I think there was like 270 episodes. Something just ridiculous. And I enjoyed every single one of them. And I really, really enjoyed how he built the franchise from the ground up and did it over a course of a few years before taking control of a major league team. Or I shouldn't say taking control, taking his major league team and putting it into the schedule and playing a full major league schedule. He built his minor league system first, and I really, really liked that, and that makes it more realistic. And he got that design and that structure from a Reddit post about how to make a more realistic expansion franchise. So I followed that Reddit post, and I copied it, and I have created it here in OOTP25. So for those of you that are wondering, is that Reddit post still doable in the newest game, OOTP25? And it most certainly is. And I have created it, and I am super excited about it, and I cannot wait to get this thing started and show you guys how I build this franchise. So I'm super excited you're here. Follow along, and we will have a great time. But without further ado, let's talk about the expansion teams. So if you're familiar with the Buffalo Wings that Old School Sports did, he also created another expansion team, the Nashville Stars or Sounds. I don't remember which one he called them. But anyways, when you do an expansion draft or expansion team, you have to do two. So I have created two teams. I have created the Mobile Bay Bears right here, and I have created the Salt Lake City Saints. So I tried to create fairly realistic expansion teams, or one of them needed to be fairly realistic, and I didn't want to go with Nashville because that's just kind of like the prototypical. I feel like everyone would just go Nashville because that's probably 100% gonna be one of the expansion teams whenever Major League Baseball decides to get off its ass and expand the league. There were some other cities that were thrown out there as possibilities, and I think that one of the better possibilities is the Salt Lake City area. I think it's a great area for baseball, and I think it's very, very possible that Major League Baseball could be coming to not only Nashville, but as well as Salt Lake City in the coming future. So I picked the Salt Lake City Saints as one of the teams. I placed them for now in the National League West. I have not solidified if that's where they're going to stay. I still have a few years as I'll get into how this is constructed, but I don't play a Major League schedule right now, so I think just leaving them in there, and I'll fix the divisions and how it works later. But ultimately, I'm going to put the Saints in one league and like the NL, and then I'm going to put the Mobile Bay Bears in the AL, or vice versa, whatever I decide to do, but the one will be in each league. And then uh, once I reconstruct the divisions, if I do it, we'll talk about it when I do, and we'll see where they end up. But for right now, they're in the NL West, and then the Mobile Bay Bears are in the AL East. So both expansion franchises are in two pretty tough divisions as of right now. I might leave them there, haven't decided yet. But the expansion franchise that I'm going to be taking over is the least realistic of the two, because Major League Baseball is never going to Mobile, Alabama. It's just not going to happen. And when you see the Mobile Bay Bears, you might think, well, that sounds familiar. Excuse me. Dang. Well, indeed it is. They were a minor league team for about 20 years, exactly 20 years, from 1997 to 2017. And I grew up watching this team. So I wanted to recreate them. They're not a minor league team anymore. I figured why not make it my own and create them for my hometown. I do have their logo right there at the top left. That is their 1997 logo. That logo did evolve over the years to something that I didn't add in here. I like the retro logo the most, so I just kind of kept it. But yeah, I grew up watching them. I really enjoyed watching them. Going to Hank Aaron Field, or Hank Aaron Park, which is where we have renamed our ballpark as well, Hank Aaron. Obviously, Hank Aaron's from Mobile, Alabama, and that's a big part of the culture down there, and he's just a big idol for most people, not only in the world or in the country, but just in that lower Alabama area. So a lot of things are named after him. But anyways, that's the ballpark name, and I will be playing as the Mobile Bay Bears. The Salt Lake City Saints will be played by the AI, and we will see if I can make a better organization than the AI can. May or may not be able to. I am pretty sure I will not be near as good as Old School Sports. I have only played this game for 6 months, 7 months total. So I played the last couple of months of OOTP24, and then I've played this since this game came out. The day I got it on early release, actually. But a friend of mine got me onto this game, and I have been hooked ever since. I've really enjoyed it. In OOTP24, I took the Oakland Athletics and made them a World Series champion in 5 years. And then in OOTP25, I started with the Colorado Rockies, and I have struggled with them. I got 3 winning seasons, but haven't yet won the World Series. And I was trying to win the World Series before I started this, but I just couldn't wait any longer. I've been excited about doing this project and excited about just getting this thing started, so I can't wait any longer. I feel like I've played this game, the 25 version, enough to get down the mechanics, to learn the player development lab, and just kind of the basics of all the changes and stuff in OOTP 25. So with that, I just jumped right into this and made this. So you'll see that I have created those 2 teams, as well as 2 teams down here in the minor league system. So each team has 2 minor league teams currently. They have a rookie league team, and they have a high A ball team. So the way this works is the first year you have just those 2 teams. You do not play a major league schedule for the first 3 seasons, but in the first year you don't play the schedule. However, you do conduct the draft. And as you can see at the top of the screen, today is our draft. I have already simmed ahead to the draft in the first season. I did not want to draft without introducing this to you guys and kind of laying the groundwork and the basics of how this is going to work. And then once that's all laid out for you all, I will then do the draft and we will begin this journey. But anyways, so you do conduct the draft, you sim the entire season. Besides that, once the season is over and you go into the off season, so in this case, it'll be the 2024 to 2025 off season, I will add 2 more minor league teams to each expansion franchise. I will add a AAA team and a low A team, and then sim the 2025 season. Besides the draft, once the 2025 season is over and goes into the off season into 2026, I will then add the final 2 minor league teams for both expansion franchises. So that'll be the AA team and then another rookie league team. So at that point, we'll have a full minor league system and roll into the 2026 season, still not playing as a major league team yet. We will sim through the whole 2026 season as well, again, conducting the draft. But after the 2026 season is over, I will then schedule the expansion draft between 2026 and 2027. Once the expansion draft is complete, I will then set my major league team, and I will begin major league play in 2027. Before that, all that happens, the purpose of doing your minor league teams 2 at a time is it allows you to build up your minor league system with essentially your draftees, right? You get 20 a year, so you can, put 20 in your rookie ball the first year. Hopefully, if you graduate, right, and get to like high A ball or A ball, and progress through the minor league system, and then hopefully after 3 years, going into your 4th year, some of your draftees from that first year could potentially be a part of your major league system. And I think there's a good chance that there will be a couple, especially how I'm thinking I'm going to draft. Now, I do want to win long term. I do not want to get destroyed in my first season. I will understand if I do. So I am building for the long term, but I think with the draft, I might take a few college pitchers or players and start them in high A ball. And hopefully after 2 or 3 years, they'll be ready for Major League Baseball. They'll probably be around 24 or 25 years old. And, we're kind of hitting their stride. Hopefully they'll be developed. That is my thought process as of now. I don't know if that's the right process. I'm not going to draft heavy with college players at all. Like, the goal is long-term prospects and the young ones. So that'll be the main focus. But there will be some college draftees that I pick as well, I am sure. And hopefully they can contribute very soon in the major leagues. Hopefully the first season, depending on how the expansion draft goes. But yeah, that's kind of the layout of how the franchise and the settings work. You have to do some quirky things in between the seasons. You have to make sure that you reset the draft, but don't reset the schedule, because if you reset the schedule, they'll put you on the schedule, and you will be screwed because you won't have a major league team. So you got to make sure that you don't get put on the schedule, but you have to reset the draft. And then going into the expansion draft, you have to create a whole new team, draft under that team, and then transfer those players over to, for me, the Mobile Bay Bears and the Salt Lake City Saints. So So there'll be some commissioner mode things that I have to do each season, and I will do those things kind of behind the scenes so you guys don't have to sit through all that. If you're interested in how it works, just let me know. Leave it in the comments. I can probably post a link to the Reddit. If you want to know how it works and explained better to you, just go over to Old School Sports. He explains it very well, and he's very well spoken, much better than I am. And I believe he has a link to the Reddit post in one of those videos as well. So by all means, definitely go check him out if you have not already. But I find it highly probable that you've already seen him if you're on my channel. But either way, I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I hope all that made sense. I will try to leave out any of the boring details in this series. I will do a bunch of recaps and then any moves and things that I make. Obviously, we'll go through the draft together. It'd be pretty similar to how Old School Sports does it. I don't know if I could do it as in depth because he just blows me away with the in depth that he does and how it keeps people watching his videos. Like he's like mesmerizing. His voices, I guess. I don't know, because it made me watch like all of his videos. But anyways, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Without further ado, I think it's time that we do the first ever Major League Baseball draft for the Mobile Bay Bears franchise. So let's get to it. And before we start the draft, I did want to check in on the organization real quick and noticed something that I really like already. And the first thing that comes or that catches my eye is Mr. Logan Cerny here. And really what catches my eye is my man always has snacks in his locker. That is his personality, and I can't think of a better personality than a man that has snacks in his locker at all times in the minor league locker room. Like, who doesn't like that kind of guy? You know what I mean? So, great addition to the team. Uh, he might have some snacks. He also hits a few bombs. You know, he's got 18 home runs so far this year, so the snacks are paying off, and he can run. But I saw that personality trait, and I thought it was extremely funny. I haven't seen that one yet, and I like it. I like it. But also, I really wanted you guys to see this because it is our first, I guess, potentially good prospect, and it's a scouting discovery from our new scout, and that is Gilberto Zapata. He is from the Dominican and looks to be potentially a very interesting pitcher. He is only 17 years old, throws 89-91 right now. I think looking at the ratings, you know, he might just be a low 90s type of guy, but has tremendous stuff, or above average stuff, and above average movement, and potentially a really just deadly splitter. So I like the fastball changeup splitter combination. Got good stamina and a very good personality. He can shut out the stress, it looks like, and kind of just go on auto mode, which I like. Maybe that means he'll be good in those big game moments, and he's got loyalty. So far, that is our best prospect before we go into the draft. That is our guy. Kind of cool to see. Thought I'd share it with you guys. This is our first real prospect here with the Mobile Bay Bears. All right, and going into the draft, so for the draft order, I didn't really mess with it. I thought about moving it down to where we were kind of both mid-round teams, and ultimately I just decided to let the draft lottery do its thing. So we were in the picks to be in the draft lottery, and I just let the lottery randomize it as it was going to anyways. I just put us both in there, and we'll go from there. So it looks like this year we have the second overall pick, the Mobile Bay Bears do, and then the Salt Lake City Saints got the fifth overall pick. So a little bit of randomness. Could have gone another way with it, could have drafted in the later rounds. Not really sure how they would do it going forward. I do believe the old expansion teams drafted later in the draft, in their first draft, but this is my world and I'm going to play it like I want. So, but ultimately, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. I just let the lottery do its thing, and it turned out to where we get the second overall pick. So we will see who is available and who we get. All right, and the Mobile Bay Bears are on the clock. To recap the draft so far, though, the Kansas City Royals were the first pick. And in the 2024 draft, the Kansas City Royals selected Charlie Condon from the University of Georgia. If you guys follow college baseball at all, or you just follow baseball, which I'm sure you do since you're here, you have probably seen this dude absolutely lighting it up at University of Georgia, like potentially on pace to have like the greatest college baseball season of all time. Like he is setting all kinds of home run records and just record after record, or he's on pace to. So not surprised with this pick, and I would not be surprised if he was the number one overall pick this year. I don't even know if he's declared, but the dude's lighting it up, and I just don't see him staying another year when he's potentially about to have the greatest season of all time. But yes, that is the first pick of the 2024 draft. However, I don't think it is potentially the best player. Yes, he's 21, so he's a little bit more sure of a thing, I guess. So I don't blame them for that pick. However, there's potentially better picks out there. So we'll start off. I've narrowed it down to two guys, but I've considered a few. The first one being the highest rated player is a second baseman, Travis Bazana. However, he's got a really good potential bat. He is 21. I'm just not crazy about his defensive abilities. He's an average defender at best, potentially a below average defender, and it's a second base position, which I'd argue is a pretty important position. You know, those second, short, center field positions are pretty important up the middle. So I don't know if I want that to be my number one overall pick. The next one was Connor Griffin. Not much to hate about this guy at all. Above average contact potential, above average power, not going to strike out a ton, got a decent eye, respectable in the base pass, although not going to set any speed records, but also has a very good potential, or already a very good defensive rating in the outfield in all three positions, and has great personality traits, loyalty, adaptability, and work ethic. So again, not a lot to hate about this guy. He is definitely one of the two that I am considering. Also have Mr. Ryan Sloan. Again, not a lot to hate about this guy. The only knock I have on him is the intelligence piece. You know, ideally I would like my pitcher to be intelligent, but like that's not the end of the world. He does have a great potential profile, so I really can't, say he's not a bad choice. You could argue either way if he's a good or bad choice, depending on how heavily you value that intelligence rating. And he's 18 years old, so I know there is some preferences on whether or not you should draft an 18-year-old pitcher number one in the draft. So I definitely understand that. The other higher rated potential 4.5, 5-star player was the catcher PJ Morlando. I don't know where they get this rating. Maybe his power and his BABIP, but below average catcher. I don't even know why he's rated a catcher. Like he should be a left fielder maybe, because that is his best defensive position. He does have a decent catcher arm, but other than that, he is not a catcher that I would want in my organization if I had to draft him number one overall. And he's also wanting $12 million. Not that that matters right now, because I have all the money I need, you know what I mean? But I just don't see the 4.5 stars, but maybe there's something in there that comes out. Those are the top 5 prospects. The only one I didn't mention was Mr. William Schmidt, and he's actually the second player I'm considering. Pretty good profile, off the charts stuff, off the charts curveball, off the charts changeup potential. Gonna throw in the mid 90s. Good control, home runs allowed, good movement. I really like his personality, leader intelligence, and the other part of it is he's the type of player that seems that he could have a managerial career after he retires. I love that trait. Very, very smart, knows the game, and that's usually a good sign. And he's only asking for $7.5 million, even though, again, I'm not really factoring that in. So, in my opinion, it's between William Schmidt and Mr. Connor Griffin. We will see what the scout director says and see if we're on the same page and see if he is leaning towards where I'm leaning. And he is. So he is picking Connor Griffin. And I'll be honest, that's probably the choice I'm going with. Again, you can argue the pitcher as well, but Connor Griffin is a solid defender. Could put him in center field if I had to. Above average bat potential. 18 years old. Not a lot to hate about this guy. If he has a knock on him, maybe he's not the fastest dude in the world, but he's exceptional in the outfield and has potential to be a really good bat and a cornerstone for us in our outfield. So I am going to pick Connor Griffin with the first overall pick in Mobile Bay Bears franchise history. And there it is. We are done with that pick. So yeah, let's continue on with the draft. And I'm in complete shock here. I don't know how this worked out, but with my second pick, William Schmidt, who we considered as our first overall pick at number 2 overall, is still on the board after a complete full round and then some. Like, what is going on? Like, they're drafting they're drafting a 2-star potential player. I get it. Everybody has different types of scouts, whether you highly favored tools or favorite ability or whatever, and that'll change that rating. But man, I cannot believe that this guy is still on the board, and honestly, that is amazing, and I can't think of anybody else I'd want to draft. Let's see if the scouting director is thinking the same thing. And obviously he is, because it's just a no-brainer. Get this dude in a second round pick who was potentially a top 5, top 4 prospect in the entire draft, and I'm getting him in a second round pick. It just blows my mind. Maybe there's something that the other scouts see that I don't, or that my scout doesn't see. But I guess time will tell. Mr. William Schmidt will be our second overall pick in our franchise history. I'm still in shock that happened. Unbelievable. All right, with the third pick, I am going to go pitcher again. And I'm only going to go this guy, well, I shouldn't say only, but Mr. Braylon Dowdy has a good profile for a potential 2.5-star player because there's not much left now that we're in the third round. This this draft was pretty top heavy, and there's not a lot left that are high prospects. But this young man has a pretty good profile, and one of the reasons why I like him is he actually is currently at a local high school that I live near here in Temecula, California. So that is kind of cool. I will draft him not only because I like his profile, I like his personality. He's got leadership, he's intelligent, and he doesn't want a ton of money, as you can see by his bonus demand. But overall, I like his profile, and I think he's a pretty good 2.5-star looking prospect, if you ask me. So we'll go with Mr. Braylon Dowdy in the third round of the 2024 draft. All right, here in the fourth round, again, I'm just gonna have to go with the pitcher, and this isn't by like design. I have just not seen a ton of position players that I really like, and it's very like this draft is extremely pitcher heavy. And I know there's a lot of pitchers in most drafts, but there has been a very odd number of just position players in this draft, I feel like. And it's enticing me to pick more and more pitchers, and I know they're young pitchers, and the washout rate on these guys is ridiculous. But at some point, like after I pick enough of these things, one of these should pan out. But I have narrowed it down to two guys, and they're both pitchers. Surprisingly, Mr. Jack Frankiel, solid profile. Don't really have a personality beat on him just yet, but he's got some above average fastball, curveball, and changeup, and the rest of his stuff is average or just above average as well. So nothing terrible there for a 2.5-star prospect in the fourth round. Not a bad pick. And then my other option is Mr. Kassan Evans. Has a somewhat better profile. I don't really like his personality traits, even though I don't know the other player's personality traits. So I guess that's kind of the variable in this. It says he doesn't, or he has low leadership and low work ethic, and to me that just screams not going to develop because he doesn't have work ethic. And then it also says that he fails to see the benefits in hard work. So that's gonna make me feel more inclined to pick Mr. Jack Frankiel. He is 19 years old, just turned 19 not too long ago, so he's still in high school. Only asking $1.3 million, which is kind of a lot, I guess, for a fourth round pick. But like I said earlier, I don't really have to worry about money at this point. Let's see what the scouter director recommends. He is recommending Christian Little. I also looked at him, and he does have a pretty ridiculous profile. And I was intrigued and considered it, especially with the ratings that he has. But I really don't like that control. That control is bad, and to me, that just spells trouble. That could potentially change, but seeing that he is 21 years old, like, is there going to be any change in that, or is he set in his ways and his control, and is there going to be any development? I don't know. That's kind of a risky play for me. You could potentially say that, yeah, he could throw some bullpen innings for you. Doesn't have a lot of stamina, but is borderline starter for sure. But that control really screams at me, and I just can't get past it. So that's why I ultimately didn't consider him, and ultimately wanted to go Mr. Jack Frank Hill. A lot better, a lot more control with decent stuff as well, above average stuff, and he has pretty decent stamina, so it can definitely be a starter for us. Not our front end of the rotation kind of guy, but middle of the rotation to back end for sure on a solid team. So we'll go with Mr. Jack Frank Hill here in the 4th round. All right, here in the 5th round, I will go position player here. I looked through, and there's really honestly not a lot left, guys, that are intriguing prospects, I'll say the least. We're definitely getting slim pickings, and I got 15 more rounds to go. But Mr. Malachi Knight, decent fielder, could potentially be above average in left field and right field. Has a good range. Not really sure about the personality class. Decent speed, above average speed, and potentially a above average power and gap power guy. The question remains, is he going to develop that contact, and is that avoid K's rating going to change? Probably not. I'll be honest. I don't know. But I think he could potentially play the outfield for us or be a backup outfielder once we expand and play our first year in the major leagues. He'll be 24 at the time, or almost 25, so he'll either be fully ready for the major leagues, or we'll know his fate and know that he didn't develop. But he could potentially be an option for us in the outfield. Definitely not a long-term player, I don't think, but the best position player left in the draft, in my opinion. And I've drafted 3 pitchers in a row, so I will go outfield here. So now I have 2 outfielders and 3 pitchers. But that's just the way it goes. You go with sometimes the better players that you can find, not specifically the positions. But before I take him, let's see what my scouting director says. He wants me to go to a pitcher. I looked at Mr. Ryan McPherson. I have no issues with McPherson. I don't like the fact that he has a low leadership ability, but he definitely has a intriguing profile. I just ultimately wanted to go position player here, and that's why I chose Malachi, purely just because I wanted a position player and not a pitcher this time. So we'll go with Mr. Malachi Knight. May not be the best player left, but I definitely just wanted to go position player, and he is the best position player left. So that is Mr. Malachi Knight, and we're going to go with him in the 5th round of the first ever player draft for the Mobile Bay Bears. And as far as the rest of the draft, I can spare you guys with the boring details of the final 15 picks, because as you can see on my screen, after this round, there's probably not going to be anything but 2 stars left. Some of these might come to fruition, some might, but I won't bore you guys with those prospects and those details. I'll do those offline, and we can maybe do a recap of the draft, or dive deeper into it after we're done. But other than that, I will go ahead and finish this draft offline, and catch you guys soon. And with that, the 2024 draft is complete. We did finish all 20 picks, and had to send out another offer to one of the 7th round, or our 7th round pick, Mr. Tate Strickland. He was outside of the rounds that got bonuses automatically. He requested a bonus as well. It was $700,000 because he was already committed to the University of Tennessee. So don't blame him there. And he had a decent profile. Loved Love the profile, and for a 7th round pick, I feel like that's a pretty good pick. Obviously, if he pans out, obviously, but potentially a really good value pick there for $700,000. Obviously, I have the money to spend, so I don't have to worry about it. All right, so those are the top picks that requested money. I'm not going to go through the full draft because I'll be honest with you guys, it just wasn't that interesting. There really wasn't a whole lot there. I went with a few older picks in the later rounds just because, and honestly, like I'm not excited about any of those prospects. But these top 5 or 6 here, I think could potentially really pan out. Mr. Connor Griffin was our first overall selection for the franchise ever, and I am going to do something a little different. I am going to change Mr. Connor Griffin's name so I can easily track him through the process and see how he pans out in his career. I will change it to my name and see what comes of it, just so I can track him a little easier, because sometimes I forget names and I just want to keep track of this guy. If it lets me, it may not let me. There it goes. That should do it. All right. So officially now, he went through a name change for us. Is Mr. Connor Griffin. The first overall pick is now Mr. Mason Davis, a right fielder out of Jackson, Mississippi. So hopefully he pans out for us. Be really cool for the first overall pick in our franchise history to make it to the major leagues and provide us with some meaningful years and a solid career. We shall see. But all right, that's going to do it for the first year player draft. I am going to send this playthrough out until the off season, where we will pick it up in the next episode. So thank you guys so much for watching this first episode of the series. I hope it becomes a good series, and I hope you guys continue to follow along if you've made it this far. I'm excited to see this series play out, and hopefully we can make a competitive team out of this relatively quickly. But we shall see, and that all starts in the first off season that we have as the Mobile Bay Bears. So I will see you guys in the very next episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Have a good one.